exciting moment for us here at the school. We're getting started with our tomato plants, which we've started off actually way back in late winter, January, February. We started sowing seed in the outdoor classroom here, and we've nurtured these little fellas, but not so little now, and we're ready to get them into our grow bags here in the greenhouse. A few other things you might need. Obviously you need some tomato plants. We've got some slow release fertilizer there and a pair of scissors. The only other thing we'll probably need when we're finished is a drop of water. So here we go, we're going to plant up our first batch of tomato plants into the grow bags. Now, before we get these lovely tomatoes into the grow bag, we're going to take off these side shoots, and if you can see them there, just kind of coming out from between the main stem and the leaf there, we've got these little side shoots which for most tomato plants they're grown as a single stem as opposed to a bush, so we need to take out these side shoots. Now I'm going to be honest with you here, because in theory you should take out every side shoot, but I've got in the habit, and we seem to have got away with in the last couple of years, allowing one or two side shoots to grow, so that when the main stem gets to the top of the greenhouse and we have to pinch it out, we get another 2 or 3 stems of fruiting tomatoes. So it just increases our crop. There is a danger to doing this. It means that you've got more plant in the bag, which means the bag will dry out more quickly. But if you're on top of your watering, if you're on top of your feeding, and you also need to do some de-leafing, because you can end up with too much leaf, which then means you lose more moisture, you need to water more, but also there's more chance of diseases like the dreaded tomato and potato blight getting involved. So you need to be good at de-leafing as well if you want to have more than one shoot. So for most people, if you're starting off, I would suggest take off all the side shoots. I'm going to leave those 2 there, but then take off these others here. And that's a non-stop job. I can see another one coming through there, and if you look on some of our other videos, you'll see there's one particularly for when these plants are a few weeks older and they're starting to grow away, how to keep on top of those side shoots. So that one's ready to go in, and I'll do the same for his mates over there. We also take off at this stage any leaves that might have got a bit we'll take off any leaves that might have got a bit damaged. So as well as taking off those side shoots there, we're going to take off these leaves that have got a bit of scorch on them. If you don't feel confident to pick them off, you can always use the scissors, which we conveniently have nearby. So we're just getting these plants ready before we put them into the bag. Good to get rid of any debris, so I've got a little tub just outside here where we're going to put our plant debris. You don't want to be leaving that in the greenhouse, because again that will pave the way for disease and so on to come in. So let's get them in the grow bag. What's next? Okay, well, let's talk grow bags for a minute here. You'll find that there's several different brands out there. I haven't got any particular favourite. What I do look for is one that's got, well, as big as possible, has got as much compost in there as possible. I guess in the end you get what you pay for. And this particular one, you know, is one of the larger, slightly more expensive grow bags. It's got more volume of compost in there. We're just going to put 3 plants in there. Deeper fill, there we go. So you know, you just know that there's more in there. In the end, it's not worth trying to cut corners on the cost here, because this is the life support. This is what makes the difference between some disappointing tomatoes or a bumper crop where you can go off and give tomatoes to your neighbours and your friends, and you know, and get that sense of satisfaction that, you know, you've really managed to produce a great crop. So it starts here where the roots are. That's the kind of the life support. Now, because the way that these things are distributed, they'll be packed onto pallets, maybe kind of 25, 30 or more of these kind of stacked up on a pallet. You find that the compost inside here is quite compact, so I tend to give this bag a good old roll around. I try to break up as many of those lumps as possible. So excuse me a second while I get stuck in. Come on. Got to be careful doing that you don't burst an end of the bag. I've done that before, and if you do, just put some heavy duty tape over the end. Really want to break up those lumps. Don't forget, I think I've told you this before, that when you're doing this sort of strenuous work, sound effects are very, very important. A good grunt will make all the difference. And you can just feel whether or not the lumps have all gone there. That feels nice and crumbly, which is going to be easier for the roots to make their way in. So now we're ready to make our cuts and get those plants in. So there we go, there's our grow bag, all nicely pummeled and loosened up. We've put these frames underneath the bag before we put the plants in. These will provide us with a way of putting a plant support. So basically where those two guys kind of cross over, we can put a bamboo cane down into the bag, and that will support the bamboo cane, so that these guys, which are going to get 6 foot 2 meters high in a couple of months, they will need that support. So it doesn't have to be frames like this, but some sort of method of supporting the plant is important. And then we're going to go in and, using the dotted lines on the bag, we're going to make our cut down here for the first plant. Sharp scissors, usually a good idea. There we are, so we've made our cut, and we can slide that out the way, fold the flap over there and there, and then again I just I love to get my hands in the compost, you know. Whoa. If the plants love it, I love it. Just loosen up that compost there and make a bit of a hole, ready to receive our first tomato. There we go then. So we've given the pot a little light squeeze around the sides till you see that the pot is starting to slide off. There she goes. And our plant, look at that, nice root system there, ready to go in. Doesn't quite fit in the hole, so let's just gently put him to one side there. And I like to make sure that I've got plenty of compost in the ends there. And now we can drop him in. There we are. Let's get that label out the way a minute. We tend to grow cherry tomatoes in our school greenhouse here. The pupils and the staff love the flavour of those cherry tomatoes. This one actually is one called Sun Cherry Smile, which is a lovely red cherry tomato, related and bred from the same kind of family group of tomatoes as the Sun Gold, which is reputed to be one of the most flavoursome tomatoes. This is a kind of a red version, shiny red fruits. Seems to resist the blight a little bit longer than some varieties, which is good. So there we are. There's our first tomato plant in. Let's get the others, and I'll just show you how we finish off then. So number 1's in, number 2 and number 3 on the way. There we go. Just like that. 3 tomato plants in. Now what we're going to do now is get some fertilizer in there. There is some fertilizer already in the compost here in the grow bag, but we like to use this 6-month slow release fertilizer, and this is a high potash fertilizer. So most tomato foods will be high in potash because potash encourages flowers, and if you're encouraging more flowers, that's where you get your fruit, more tomatoes. So there we are. We're just putting some of that inside there so that as the fertilizer already in the grow bags runs out, this will take over. You can get various types of slow release fertilizer. You can get some especially for tomatoes, but we've got some of this here available today, so we're just using this. As long as it's high potash, then I'm happy. Just covering over the fertilizer so it can't be seen. We don't want children or someone taking an interest in the fertilizer, and also you'll get a better release of the nutrients if they're buried just beneath the surface of the ground, of the compost. So there we go. All we need to do now is give it some water, and then within the next week or so we'll get a bamboo cane tucked into there and start tying up these plants as they grow. Maybe we should give you an update in a week or two. That would be good, wouldn't it? It'd be almost like we were organised or something. So little water now, and then that's job done. So we've got our watering can. Now I'm fairly fussy when it comes to watering. I think you've got to be gentle, and you know, it can't be as and when you feel like it. It's got to be as and when the plants need it. Generally, best advice is to water early in the morning or last thing at night. Try to avoid watering during the day. If you have to, you have to, but then, you know, if you do have to water during the day, try and keep the water off the leaves, because you can scorch the leaves if you water them during bright sunlight, particularly in a greenhouse. So there we go, a nice kind of steady trickle into the compost. You can see that soaking in very quickly. Don't forget, the bigger the bag, the more compost it's got, therefore the more water it will need, but the more water it's holding on to, the more water there is available during the heat of the day for these plants to rocket away. So we've allowed that to soak in, and then we're going to go in and give it another drink just there. There we are. They look like 3 very happy plants to me. Here we are in early May. I reckon about 6 weeks, maybe 7 weeks time, towards the end of June, we'll be picking our tomatoes. Oh, I can't wait.